Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Discover Your Path interviews. Today I'm with Andre Dickerson, who is the director for the Center for Leadership and Community Engagement at CWU. And he's actually an alumni as well. So he graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in biology, then went on to Heritage University to get his master's in medical science, and also got an MBA, and then now is currently in a doctoral program at Azusa for higher education. So welcome, Andre.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Jesse.
Good. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm excited to get going on these questions. So what I would like to know first is a typical day for you now in your position as director of the CLCE. What is that like?
Absolutely. So pre-COVID, I'll give the pre-COVID, of course, and now. A typical day with respect to understanding every day is different, as it always is, in terms of meeting the students' needs and programming. But a typical day would be arriving to the office and checking in with each of the team members, making sure that I have an understanding of what their needs of me are, as well as whatever it is that we're working on that day or for that week. Usually, on average, it's a program or two or three that revolves around leadership development or civic engagement. We are really, really blessed to have about 80 or so memorandums of understandings and contract agreements with community and campus partners for us to be able to deliver programs that revolve around anything from working with Habitat for Humanity, working with the school district, or literally doing something that's environmentally promoting sustainability with Bureau of Land Management. And so we would be working on those different opportunities to engage students, or it may be something that's more specific to leadership development. That could be a conference or workshops revolving around a leadership development certificate that we have for the university. After checking in, identifying and assessing what the day plan is, what's going on for the, what can I assist with, what can I help with, I'll commence to checking emails and looking at the schedule. And when I look at the schedule often, or most likely on occasion, I'll have at least probably 2 or 3 meetings with students daily. And those are going to be more formal, but they're also probably about 5 or so informal, just popping in with our student staff. But the meetings with the students that I typically find on my calendar are going to be students that are not working in the CLCE, but are more or less either campus leaders or students who are first generation, low income, or students of color that are just needing contact and needing some sort of affirmation that they belong here, that they have special skills and talents that's going to take them to new heights and be able to provide for their family. Or sometimes it's just someone to say, hey, I see you and I'm glad you're here. So oftentimes I'm really grateful to be in that role, because I was one of those students when I was a student, and I would bug people and I would have my people that I would try to check in with once a week just to be in space with them to get that validation and affirmation that I belong here. So on average, that's kind of what the day looks like. If I can squeeze lunch in, I'll squeeze lunch in. If not, then we'll be okay.
Wow. Wow. Sounds like a busy job, but a really rewarding job.
Absolutely.
Sounds very cool. All right. Well, what I'm wanting to know also is, like, how did you get your position that you have now?
Yeah, absolutely. A little unique. As you mentioned, I earned my undergrad degree in biology, and I wanted to practice medicine. And so I ended up working for the university earlier on and getting a couple years of higher education experience outside of my initial interest when I was a student. Then I went and got a master's in medical sciences. And after I finished that degree, I decided at that point I wasn't going to practice medicine. So I just had to, I embraced the change that I knew was inevitable, just because of my life path and journey and what was actually going to be a part of my plan and journey in life. And so I got hired actually as an executive director of hospice for the county for almost 2 years. Now I worked for the state, and I did some other roles as well, but this was critical because I gained some really great leadership experience, supervisory experience, budget management, overseeing about $1 million in financial assets for the organization, doing almost $100,000 in donation and fundraising and things like that. And the irony was, the entire time that I was doing this, I was still connected to the campus. I was still mentoring students. I was still engaged. I was still helping with our Male Success Initiative program, which is pretty much our Brother to Brother program now. And what ended up happening was, after almost 2 years in that role, I was finishing my MBA, or I was nearing kind of the middle piece of my MBA, and I got a couple phone calls saying, hey, did you know there's a job on campus that's open that they're hiring for? And it was the director of student involvement. And it was working with student government, campus activities, Westside Student Life, and everything about the job screamed, this would be great for me. And I would really enjoy it because they're all roles that I had some experience in at either the director level or as a professional. And it would give me a chance to come back and work with really great colleagues and mentors of mine as I continue my professional development. So I had to go through the soul searching to say, do I want to leave the medical field and go back to higher education that I had just only done because of just interest and how much of a difference higher ed made in my life? And so I applied, and I went through the process, and I was really, really blessed to actually be hired by Dr. Keith Champagne at the time, who was a mentor of mine. And when I told him that I was interested and I went through the process, he said, I think you're ready. I think you're ready, man. And I think not only are you ready, we would be blessed to have you and grateful to have you come back to campus. And so he hired me. And about a year later, of course, we did some restructuring, and I was moved over to the Center for Leadership and Community Engagement as we restructured student involvement. But it's been an amazing journey ever since then. And it was probably the best decision I've ever made, because higher education is the path that I'm supposed to be on. And I'm grateful because I get a chance to have an impact on a lot of students every day.
Yeah, you do. Wow. Okay. So it was the connections that you maintained on campus that brought you back and helped you get that position that you have now.
Absolutely. If I can sum up the entire process and everything that I said in one word, it would be networking. My network.
Yes.
Because it was my network on campus that even called me and said, hey, did you know that this job is about to happen? I think you should apply for it. And then me consulting with them. Okay, I've been off campus for several years. Can you tell me what's happening? What's the post? How are things operating? What is the leadership like right now? And they gave me so much insight to what was happening that it was seamless for me. When I applied, it almost felt as if I was still there because I was knowledgeable. So when I'm competing against others, although I'm an alumni, although I worked for the university, I'm still having to compete at the same level. I was just that much more knowledgeable, and I had that much more insight to saying, here's what the university needs and here's what I can bring. And having Dr. Champagne be the authority, the hiring authority, helps because he's also knowledgeable of who I am and what I represent as a professional, et cetera, that he can justify and say, okay, I am entrusting this responsibility to you, and I'm confident that you'll be able to come in and do a great job. Networking, absolutely, was the key thing.
That's a great story. I love it. All right. I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about some of those earlier roles, because I know you don't just jump into those big leadership positions. So can you tell us a little bit about those roles?
Absolutely. And I was kind of alluding to it a little bit, saying I kind of worked in higher ed for a little bit and I left and came back. Some of my earliest roles as a paid professional in higher education, I worked in admissions. I was an admissions counselor for 2 years and a recruiter, pretty much traveling the I-5 corridor, anything from Bellingham to San Diego. And wherever they needed me to go, I went. And those were some of the best days. And I really, really loved that work because you were the boots on the ground, hard work. Go spend 5 hours at between 4 or 5 high schools, or go to a conference where all the colleges are coming to recruit, and do that for 6 days straight. Go Monday through Saturday, go put in 10 plus hours, go drive around the entire state. And I valued that so much because it was paying my dues. Even if I didn't foresee then that I would be working in higher education, it really served as the foundation for me because I appreciated the understanding of when you're usually at a level where you're elevated in some sort of leadership capacity, it's based on value. And every day that I worked the entry level admissions job, I was growing my value. I was learning more. I was developing new skills. I was growing my network. I was doing so much. And so I understood that I'm not going to be paid a lot of money as my first job. That's not what the purpose of that first job is. The purpose of the first job, first opportunity, is for you to grow in your skill set, develop those skills that will add value to you as a professional. And then as you continue to grow in your value, then you are compensated as such. And that was so significant for me because when I started to work, so that was one of the first roles. I served as an admissions counselor and recruiter. I also served as a coordinator for the camp, the College Assistance Migrant Programs, Dare to Dream Academy. I was really grateful for the opportunity to work with, soon, Dr. Miriam Pochetti. And she gave me that opportunity, which came from me working in admissions and helping to develop the program in its early infancy, so that when it was time to grow the program and work with the Office of the Superintendent in Instruction to allow for these high school students to earn college credit for the work they were doing at Central, it was an easy, natural, hey, you helped us develop this. How about we hire you on to be a coordinator? And that was an amazing experience for me to be able to see that at a federally grant funded level program. And it was just based on the networking, and it was just, I'm getting experience, I'm growing my value. And all of those roles helped me earn that executive director position, which then led to me being able to get hired as director of student involvement, now CLCE, and made me eligible for a PhD and other things that will allow for me to continue to ascend. So some of those earlier roles were literally just embracing the opportunity, and it just kind of moved from there.
Wow, and that gives you an awesome perspective when it comes to the people that you lead as well. Like, you've been in their shoes, you understand how the university works and how their jobs work. So I think that's really key. Okay, so next question is about, in your current role as director, what skills and strengths do you feel are important for success in a role like that?
I love that. That's a great question. So first, I would say the greatest skill set would be having a strengths-based leadership approach. And having a strengths-based leadership approach for me means being able to assess the skills, the talents, and strengths of the team members. Being able to identify them, understand what they are, understand how they're unique, how they can play together in order to accomplish goals and tasks. And it collaborates with the next step, which is developing a vision. So if I'm aware of what the strengths are of the team members as well as my own, and I have a vision, I'm more likely to be able to have us execute on that vision effectively and in a way to where everyone can understand how they are valued, how their strengths and talents are incorporated into our ability to accomplish it, which strengthens their values, their sense of purpose, and their self-efficacy in terms of who they are in our team. So that's critical for me, being able to identify and assess what the values are, and the strengths and skills and talents are with our team, as well as developing a vision for us to know what we're doing and how to accomplish it. I would say, similar to my own journey, another piece of advice would be being adaptable to change. Everything changes. Look at where we are now. When we're looking at how our university and every university in the world is responding to this global pandemic, one of the most important aspects of this critical issue that we're facing is our ability to adapt to change. When I got my bachelor's degree, I didn't get accepted into medical school right away, so I had to work. And then I had to go to get my master's degree. And then once the decision was made to not go to medical school entirely, I had to figure out how do I change my course. The destination and the ultimate goal is to be successful and to make sure that I'm taking care of my family and we are able to live a purposeful, meaningful life. That hasn't changed. What has changed maybe is the direction that we go and how we accomplish it. But I have to be adaptable to change unless I'm not going to be able to see my full potential and my ability to be able to move forward and progress in life. And it's the same way. When you're in a leadership capacity, you have to be able to be adaptable to change because I worked for the university for the first year and then we restructured and I moved to a different position. Now, if I'm not embracing that change, I then may get too focused on what I would have liked to have happen or what would have been more ideal for me, what would have been more convenient for me, and it would not have given me the ability to identify that there's some amazing people working in the CLCE, and I can be of support to them and elevate them also as they move forward in their career plan. So I would say those three. I would say being able to assess and identify the strengths and talents of your team, being able to develop a vision for your team to give direction on which way we should go. And then I would say third is the ability to be adaptable to change. Those are the skills and strengths I believe are key to bringing to a position like the CLC director to be successul.
I could totally see all of that. You know, working at the university myself, I could see that those would be very important qualities for your role. The last question I have for you is more about advice. So say there's a student out there that looks at your job and says, man, I would love to have a job like that someday. What advice do you have in terms of how they could get there?
Oh, man. I would say identify how you can be of value to people. See how you bring value and how you can be of service to others. That's the first thing. Because my job as a director of the CLCE just means that I'm of service to everyone in the CLCE. I'm the primary person who is of service to everyone, meaning anyone who operates in that center or any student, any of our colleagues on campus that's looking to utilize the resources of the center, I am the first person that they can come to. And I should be the first person who can be of service to them, or at least figure out how to assess that. So what that means is I need to be able to develop the capacity to be able to do that. So identify how you can be of service to others and what your skill sets and talents are. And then from there, again, develop that vision and be persistent. Be persistent, and be resilient. When I say persistent and resilient, I like to use those together because resiliency is really the ability to overcome a challenge or adversity. But the persistence means I'm going to keep being willing to overcome the challenge and adversities and make sure that regardless of the circumstance, if I have a vision and I have a plan, I'm going to go for it. I'm adaptable to change. So if it changes a little bit, that's okay, but I'm going to go for it. And, you know, part of the things is we're talking about the skills. There are really great tools that can be utilized like Clifton Strengths, where it gives you a chance to identify what your strengths are. And for me, my top strength is achiever. And once I understood that made me feel so much better because I'm absolutely the person I'm going to get it done. I want to get it done. Let's accomplish it at the highest level possible. But what I pride myself on isn't the accomplishment list. It's just the fact that I have been able to be of service to as many people as possible. And I want to keep going because I have not served everyone yet. Everyone who I can be of service to, I have not served them yet. And I want to be able to help enrich them and grow them. That's another one of my strengths is maximizer. I want to see people be able to be successful in whatever their talents, strengths, visions, goals are, and be of support to them and elevate. So the advice I would give before I go off on a tangent is absolutely identify how you can be of service to others and develop that personality and that feeling and that belief, because you absolutely can be a director. You absolutely can be an associate dean, a dean, a vice president, or president. And that's my aspiration, is to be a college president. And I understand that in order for that to happen, I have to make sure that I recognize The college president isn't the hierarchy leader. It's the person who is of service to everyone at the university. The decisions that they make, how they think, how they process information is to be of service to the entire university. And I need to continue to grow so that when I'm in that role, I can be the best servant possible.
That is a great perspective. I like that they're personal characteristics and mindsets, basically, that you're gonna, that you'd implement within yourself, and that would take you places. I really like that. Well, those are all the questions that I have for you, but thank you so much for being here today. I think this video is going to be wonderful for students, and stay safe and healthy out there.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much, Jesse. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you too. All right, well, we'll be in touch, okay?